look, just very quickly, you know how MMP works, the voting system? You know how it works? Yep. You've got two votes, you've got your electorate and you've got your party vote. You don't have to vote the same twice. That's one of the big things. You can give your vote to different people. And the one that I want you to do is I want you to give your party vote to New Zealand first. With your electorate vote, if you want to give it to me, it'll be an honour, but I'm going up against a majority of 20,000 for Labour, so yeah. But very quickly, this election is going to be a big one, because we've got, at the moment, 5 parties in Parliament that are vying for control, and they've got into 2 separate camps, and they've sort of just pushed us off to the side and forgotten about us. So first, we've got National, Judith Collins, or Crusher Collins, as people like to call her, and ACT with David Seymour. I call him Out of Touch Seymour. Why? Because he just is so completely out of touch with the everyday realities of this world. And if National is polling very lowly under Judith Collins, ACT is polling quite high. National will need ACT to get in, and this is what they want to do. Okay, so that means that if they get in, it's going to be cutbacks to the public service. I work for the public service, I'm a researcher. Who are already making a lot of money. For example, I make about $52,000 a year, $49,000 a year. Under National, I would get a tax break that would give me $800 for the year. If I earn $61,000, I get a tax break of about $4,000. $800 to me isn't going to make a big difference in my life, but apparently the people who are going to get the $4 grand tax break, they deserve it more than I do. Do with that as you will. And if you earn less than that, if you earn about $30,000 a year, they want to give you a tax break of $8. That for some people is really nothing. They want to give, they want to put in wage freezes. So minimum wage at the moment is around about $19. They want to keep it at that, even though inflation is just going up all the time. That for many people is a severe difficulty, and it will result in some people being completely priced out of the market. They want charter schools. Now, if you don't know what a charter school is, it's a school with less regulations. We got rid of them under this government because we disagreed that per head of student, they would be getting $20,000 a year and have kids learning out of shipping containers. We disagreed with that vehemently. Less state homes under National, the number of state homes just plummeted. And the number of people on the housing list, now this is one of their biggest lies. They will say to you that under National, people in need of a home was at an all-time low. But if you were in a car, a garage, a tent, or a shed in the backyard, they didn't count you on those statistics. Because they believe that because you have a place to stay, you're not actually in urgent need of housing, even if it is literally a shed that you could buy down at Bunnings for $200. Okay? And they sold so many state homes off, so many. And not only that, when it came down to the number of state homes that they said they built, they also included state homes that underwent renovation, earthquake strengthening, or general repairs. So the actual number of new homes that they built is far lower than what they said they did. They just completely flunked the numbers. It's wrong, and it's so wrong. They want to do cutbacks to welfare. Now this is mainly ACT. So if you're on the winter energy payment, they want to get rid of that. That for some families is about $4,000 of assistance gone. A family earning $30,000, or me earning $800, losing that welfare is not going to result in having warmer homes. It's not going to result in us getting back that money from the tax break. And oh, by the way, that tax break is temporary. It's for 18 months. It's not actually going to be a permanent tax break. So that's National and ACT. They want to put into place things that have been tried before, have failed, but according to them, if we do it again, this time it will work. It won't work. Very simple. The cutbacks that they want to do has resulted in thousands of New Zealanders leaving this country throughout the years. My parents left back in the 90s because of the cutbacks. They didn't see a future down here for them. I'm now back down here, and if these tax breaks go through, well, I don't actually know what I'm going to do. And that's it. And for me, the solution for me could be going over to Australia and going back to the United Kingdom. And I don't particularly want to leave New Zealand. I quite like it here. But if I don't have a job, well, what can I do? Okay, and then all the way over here, we've got the Labour and the Greens. Now, 3 years ago, we went into a coalition with Labour, and the Green Party kept their supply and confidence deal with the Labour Party. What you're always going to hear, especially from overseas media, is, oh, it's the Labour Greens government. No, it's not. It's they're in government because of us, and even on the campaign trail I've had to remind a couple of Green and Labour volunteers, where would you be without New Zealand first? Come on. Get real, you need to start to give credit where it is due. You would have achieved nothing if it wasn't for us. Now for them, they want to turn around and they want to put into place extreme taxation. That's a Green Party policy. So if you have $1 million in assets, including your property, you're going to get taxed $10,000 a year extra for that. Now, they say that it's only going to affect 6% of the population. I know it's going to affect more than that, because there are people in this country who own a multi-million-dollar property, or farmers who own land and own stock, who are going to reach that $10,000 threshold. I have family up in Auckland who are elderly. Bought their house back in 2004. Prices just gone up and up and up and up and up. And to tell you the truth, one of them, their house was valued at about $300,000 when they bought it in 2004. No work has been done on that home in the last 16 years, minus some insulation being put under the house. That house is now worth $1.1 million. But if you were to lift that house up out of Auckland and put it out in the regions, it's worth about $400,000. Yeah, and not only that, I know there are some people who, especially elderly people and seniors, because this will hit them amongst some of them the hardest, who, when they are writing their will, when they're renewing their will, and they have the person coming around and valuing everything, oh, that picture, that painting that their grandparents brought back in the 1920s in Paris, or some of the furniture, it's now classified as antique. So now it's actually worth $20,000. Oh, that painting at auction, its minimal asking price will be $100,000. And according to the Greens, because they have that old stuff that they've inherited throughout the years, they're actually incredibly wealthy, even though the majority of seniors in this country survive on their superannuation payments. I know of some elderly who, for them, they're going to have to completely sell stuff off. And it's going to be very difficult for them. And they don't want to leave the house that they built with their partner or their family years ago. They don't want to leave their family home. They wanted to have a big house so that they could have family come around and the grandkids could stay for a while and all that lovely stuff. They wanted to achieve that Kiwi dream that they had been promised, because seniors, back in their day, some of them faced taxes of up to 76%. That was under Robert Muldoon, and that was done with the promise that you get taxed like that, you get a home, you have a safety net, and you will be able to retire in comfort. That's the deal. And they agreed to that deal, and now suddenly they're going to get taxed more. Especially Labour, they've done a lot of spending. And if the previous Labour governments have shown anything, is that they do just throw money at an issue, and they just hope that it goes away. Sometimes you need to have targeted spending. You can't just throw money into the entire system. You need to pick where that funding goes so it will have the best return for your money, essentially. And we're taxpayers, or were taxpayers in some day. We don't want to see money getting wasted or money going to services that already have funding and money available. The Greens especially, they want to put more regulations onto our farmers. I famously disagree with this because I myself have family who live on farms. They've already put tens of thousands of dollars into their property to bring it up to the standards. They've already done that. And there are farmers in this country who are breaking even or only making a few $1,000s profit a year. And they've said that if they get more regulations put on them without financial support from the government, that's it. They're done. All of the stock, send it off to the meat works, sell up the land, we're done, we're out. That's what they've been saying. And like it or not, we are an export-led economy. Our primary sector, an agricultural sector, makes up half of our exports. If we attack our farmers, the people who are going to get us through the COVID recovery, we're not going to recover. It's as simple as that. We need our farmers, and we need to rely on them, and we need to give them support, not more regulations unless we give them that support. One of the big ones for Labour is they want to settle treaty claims. This is especially the case up in Auckland with the occupation that is happening. New Zealand first, Winston Peters, we apparently stopped that not once, not twice, but 3 times. We stopped that. A good example is back in 2014, National allowed for some acts or for some settlements to be revisited. It has resulted in over 3,000 treaty claims that have been settled, being reopened, with claims overlapping, undermining, and attacking other claims that have already been made. It has resulted in Maori iwi fighting against one another, whereas before they used to be very close and tight-knit. It has resulted in jobs being lost, and it has resulted in thousands of young Maori and Pacific Islanders actually turning around and saying to their iwi, I want nothing to do with you anymore. I'm done. I'm over this politics. I'm done. Which is incredibly sad to hear, because our iwi, many of them, when they got their settlement, they have done wonders with what they've been able to get. And so we don't want to have settled treaty claims being reopened to get resettled at the expense of the taxpayer. The deal was done, it was signed, that's it. Greens especially, they want to do light rail. What's light rail? Well, it's, according to the Greens, rapid transport system on rail in the city. I'm from Melbourne, there's trams everywhere. I think that they want trams, but I've spoken to some of their candidates and they're a bit unknown on what it actually means. We don't want light rail, we want heavy rail. Why? Because light rail is good at getting people from A to B, but it's not good at getting trucks off the road. You can't transport a lot of stuff on light rail. If you have in place heavy rail, not only is it cheaper, but you can get trucks off the road and you can move more people at the same time. So that's what we want to have. And light rail was going to cost over $2 billion, we think, around about that, if not more. If you ask the Nats, they'll say it's going to be costing double that. If you ask the Greens, they say it's going to be costing less than that. It's all over the place in numbers for light rail. The Labour Party also announced a $200 million a year provincial growth fund. That sounds great, but this last 3 years we've put $3 billion into the provinces with our $1 billion a year provincial growth fund. $200 million isn't going to get a lot done in provincial New Zealand. It's going to result in a lot of fighting happening for every cent of that money and a lot of resentment towards the central government.